uh, update, the world is not a nice place. The only nice thing on earth is your family. Is your family. That's what you're born with. That's what you grow up with. Then you get socialized with friends and classmates and peers all throughout your life. Throughout your whole life, you're being socialized with people your age and people of different generations. But your family is the only nice thing in your life. The rest of the world is cruel. Is cruel. Now, there's magic in the world. There's magic everywhere. First of all, the more you dig for truth, the more I'm gonna try to not swear. I think I'm gonna make a shift. I'm gonna make a little shift, and I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. So, the more you search for truth, the more magic you will find, and the more prepared you will be. The more prepared you will be. Example, say you are concerned about something medically that's happening to you. Kind of scary. Before you visit a doctor or after you visit a doctor, if you can get the bravery to do some searching. Now, it used to be a lot simpler. You used to just Google, and Google will tell you a couple of sentences. But now we have AI. So AI will tell you a whole story, but usually AI is kind. AI is now kinder than Google search. So that's actually positive. AI tells you you won't die, and it's true. It's true. You won't die. Even if you get cancer, you won't die. You won't die of anything. You won't die of anything. So AI will tell you a truthful prognosis of what your condition is, even if you can't see a doctor. Even if you can't see a doctor. That's how I was bleeding out my butthole with 2 large cysts and a broken tailbone that lasted for a year. And I did all sorts of Googling. I took photos. I described the pain, described what happened, analyze the photos. Is there an infection? Is it healing? It's itchy. It's painful. It feels like this. It feels like that. What's the healing timeline? And then I said, okay, my treatment, I'm taking super amounts of Advil and Tylenol. What's the limit? What's the limit for my weight category? What's the limit? So I did all this information, and that helped me remain calm throughout my healing process rather than me racing in my mind. I'm gonna fucking die, because I found the truth. And there's always peace in the truth. But sometimes you don't have to go around asking AI for everything, because then you will be paranoid. But if there's a serious problem, finding truth can bring peace and magic. Same with the natural world. So, if you want to learn about nature, if you want to learn about animals, tigers, sharks, insects, plants, birds, mountains, forests, oceans, you can find the truth for that. But the wrong way to do it is to just put yourself there. That's how you will scare the shit out of someone. You can't change reality. You need to change your brain. So, once your brain is changed, you can handle reality. And the same goes for our personal lives, our personalities. And thoughts and anxieties and stress and fears and routines and habits and strengths and weaknesses. You need to be able to handle reality. And the way to handle reality is to be prepared. To be prepared. It's like a test. You'll never pass the exam if you don't study. So you'll never score a goal if you don't practice. You'll never make money if you don't get an education. You'll never be able to explore the world if you don't know what's in the world. If you just take someone and make them listen to a fairy tale and then drop them on the top of Mount Everest, they'll probably freeze to death. You got to tell them what the mountain is like, what the foundation is like, where the avalanche threats are, what the climate is like, what animals, what the temperature is, what the precipitation is like, what the sunlight is like, what the wind conditions are like, where the emergency resources are, where the settlements are, how long the journey is, how much supplies you have. You got to tell them all of that stuff and then have them make their way up to Mount Everest. You can't just take them and put them there. You got to be prepared. And for your own fears and stuff like that, now we have AI, which is good because you can use AI to address your own fears. And you got to be aware of the details. So it's like, I have a fear of social interactions. And then it will spit out, be compassionate. But then you can say, like, why do I have social? Okay, here's an example of a social situation which I am nervous in. It could be fear, it could be public, it could be a certain type of event or atmosphere, something dangerous, something risky, I don't know, anything. So this is the type of situation where I am fearful of. Here's an example. Then it will break down, and then you got to find which points in the example are you afraid of. And it's only a conversation. So you got to find the details. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be invincible the next day. It can take weeks, months, or years. But you are going to be smarter than you were the day before. And until you are ready and you prepare and you train, you are only setting yourself up for failure. You're only setting yourself up for failure. If you go into a boxing ring and you don't prepare and you just talk about it or you don't do the work, you're being lazy, you're setting yourself up to fail. You may be athletic. You may be intelligent. You may be hardworking. But if you don't do the work required for that specific performance, you're not going to achieve success. You're not going to get there. Even though you could be a good person, you could be a Christian, you could be a religious, you could be family oriented, you could be friendly, you could be kind and nice and have all the correct qualities. But to accomplish a task requires knowledge of that task. Now, luck plays a factor as well. You can be lucky, you can be unlucky. So that definitely, and there's many other scenarios reasons that come about. It's not just your preparedness. There's a million other things. But to achieve success is to master the truth. Remember, master the truth. The world is cruel. Only your family is nice to you. Outside of that, you need to master the truth. You need to master the truth. Because here's the root of fear. Here's the root of fear. Fear is an incomplete truth. And then your mind sees the unknown. Okay, so fear is when you get fear is when you get a glimpse. You get a glimpse into a bigger picture, But you don't see the whole picture. Once you see the whole picture and there are no more mysteries, there's no more fear. Think of a horror film. When you see a shadow, you get scared. I mean, that's how horror films are made. When you see a shadow, you get scared. When you hear a sound, you get scared. When you see a creepy slow motion forest, you get scared. Incomplete information causes horror. But if you could zoom out and see the entire forest and know where every tree was, where every living thing was, what every living thing was, what time of day it was, you wouldn't be scared of the forest. If you knew who that creature was, where they came from, or if they were an alien or a zombie or a clown or whatever, and you knew the entire population of that creature and where they came from and their home world and their habits and their eating routine and their culture and their society and their civilization and their mind and how their brain works and how they language they speak and everything, and you knew all of that, you wouldn't be scared of one of them. And you knew how they got where they got and what their purpose was, you wouldn't be scared anymore. You might still be a little bit scared, but you wouldn't be as scared of just seeing a strange thing pop out in the screen and be the biggest fear moment of the entire movie. If you knew their home world and their sleep habits and their friends and their families and their organisms, how their organs work, how their anatomy is, and you knew all that, then you wouldn't be scared. So fear is incomplete truth. And you don't just come over it in one day. It takes time, months, weeks, years, and with maturity, you gain more experience of the world and you gain less fears of the world as well. So, if you really want to conquer your fear, you can't just wing it. You can't just blindly attack it. Maybe you can. You can as well. But to go at it alone, you need to have a truth. You need to have a truth. If it's crime you're scared of, look at statistics. Which neighborhoods have the most crime? What time of day do crimes happen? What types of crimes happen? What is the culture of crime like? What are the numbers of total crime? What type of crime is it? Look at the crime statistics. If it's injury you're fearful of, research everything about the injuries possible and the treatments to the injuries. If it's vehicles you're scared of, research where to buy vehicles, the companies that make the vehicles, the engineers behind the vehicles, the drivers behind the vehicles, how to take the test to get a license. Research all of that stuff. And to know a truth of what a vehicle is and what transportation really is. You don't just sit in one and not be scared unless you learn how to drive one and how to engineer one and the laws of motion and kinematics and speed and acceleration and velocity and distance and time. So you learn about that. So that's how you would address fears. And the this is useful because you may come across, you definitely will, as you get older and age, you will need to explore the world more and more and be put into different it may be something at work, public speaking, leadership, getting a promotion, getting new responsibilities, leadership, teamwork, management, something like that. And you got to learn about it. That's why they have courses to teach you and guide you, and workshops to get you more knowledgeable about the practice. All right? So it's very important to seek out knowledge and a truth, and it takes time, but you'll be more prepared. And then as time goes by, you will be qualified and be able to rise to the occasion. All right? So yeah, stay classy. Remember, to summarize, uh find truths. Find truths. Yeah.